man or a woman cannot of himself manufacture, create, produce anything that is valuable in the sense of non-time. He cannot manufacture anything valuable for himself. This is difficult for a human being to see because of a number of reasons. One of them being that in everyday, ordinary life, you can take a piece of wood from over there, another piece of wood from over there, a third piece of wood over there, and take hammer and nails and put together all your pieces of wood and build a table or a chair. Or you can take the ingredients from a recipe in a cookbook. You can bring all those recipes, portions together and make a cake or a soup or something. And you say, I made the cake. I fixed the soup. So it becomes a mechanical mental habit for human beings to think in terms of themselves creating something. And this, of course, is carelessness from the very start, because when you're a young person, you make your first cake or you build your first table from lumber, you say, look, Mom, or look, dear, I made this marvelous table for you. And there's never any awareness of the fundamental fact that you did not create your own hands that picked up the lumber. You did not create your own thoughts, your own logic for putting the table together. And the sense of self, of I, creeps in, and then unfortunately expands itself to all of life, so that all you can say is, I did it, I accomplished this, to everything that happens. And it goes on so long and so hard that it becomes impossible for the average person to ever see the mistake he made 10, 20, 30 years ago and is continuing to do. This, of course, leads into great frustration, great anger, and great pain, because you pick up the pieces in your life and you say, I'm going to accomplish this, I'm going to acquire that. And then when it doesn't happen, you get shocked and nervous and disturbed because it goes contrary to your thousands, tens of thousands of previous statements that I can do something of myself. Well, didn't I make a table? All right, I made the table. Therefore, I am a creator. How come I didn't get hired down at the factory where I applied? How come mighty I, who can create things of himself, wasn't accepted by that man or woman? And then the cry becomes a wail and goes on to say, see how unfair this world is. How did I ever get involved in a vicious, cruel world, society that I'm in? Ever done it? You have done it. Now, we have already tracked back the initial error, which is to believe that you can create anything at all. I must tell you, and you must hear me and apply it practically to your lives. I must tell you that if you think that you are a creator, you have only created a delusion. You've only created an idea which will always go bumping against the wall of reality in the world, and you will fall down and you will cry. Now that explains all the difficulties that you have experienced, all your frustrations, all your tears. Now, happily, it is not necessary for you to think that you're a creator, that you can create happiness for yourself or goodness for yourself. It is not necessary for you to think that. You don't have to think that you're a creator. You can set it aside altogether, and right now, you don't have to be a creator, because truth is. Now we can see the problem, can't we? Who are you going to choose, you or God? You or reality? You can tell which you've chosen by the number of times you banged up against that brick wall and fell down and cried. And don't you get indignant often at your treatment by the world, what you call your treatment by the world, which is nothing more than maltreatment by yourself? Aren't you all going to go out of this meeting then entirely new in your viewpoint and 100% victorious inwardly, because you know that you're in good hands? Oh, you know that you're in good hands if you know that you're in good hands. Now, would you call yourself being in your hands, being in good hands, or pretty dreary? Pretty horrible? Should we get stronger words? Okay. You must, therefore, do your own work in seeing that you think it is necessary for you to manufacture goodness, virtues, happiness, a pleasant nature. You still don't see that the very thought that you must do something is going to come into a circle and bang against the wall. And this is because you insist on being the creator of your own life, which is nothing but mad thoughts up here in your mind colliding with each other, threatening each other, and you don't see it. So already, right now, I tell you to make a choice between your own belief, which is foolish, a foolish belief that you need to be a creator of your own happiness, of your own good, of your own wisdom, of your own guidance. You make your choice between thinking that you must create yourself, or you can just relax and you can sit back in your chair and you can let the whole world rush by without reaching out to try to grab it because you think you need to. You don't. The word grab is a pretty strong word, isn't it? It indicates physical grabbing out and greed, doesn't it? And complete inconsideration of others, and even brutality, grabbing what you want. Well, that's the world. That's a pathetic, scared world, thinking it has to grab the money, the position, the home. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. You see, look at the oddness of this. If you give a gift to yourself, is it a gift? You can't give a gift to yourself. Then all the real virtues, intelligence, powers, restfulness, all the good things of life must be a gift. You cannot give it to yourself. A gift has to come from something that is higher than you, that is outside of you, from something that has more power, intelligence, complete power, intelligence, because we have none. Isn't this what you've been looking for all your life? No. there's a faint recognition in you that if you could stop giving yourself false gifts out of your own trash box, there's a faint recognition that if you stop doing that, that maybe something different would occur because you're putting in an operation, a completely different operation. But you won't stop reaching in and pulling out the trashy toys to play with for a while and then toss aside. You won't stop doing that because you have not had the full recognition of one certain kind of gift. And I'm going to go into that tonight. A certain kind of gift. Maybe you have never given it a whole lot of thought, but before we go on to it, do give some thought to the fact. Any change, any transformation, anything good, any more poise, inner poise, any more ability to think clearly and therefore to not have problems in the first place, all that must come from something outside of what you now take as you. Look at the exercise involved in that. Stop looking to what you call yourself. Stop looking to it as a source of strength, of power. Stop looking, for example, stop looking to yourself for the talent for not being nervous. Nervousness is one of the toys, it's a toy you play with for a while, it gives you a certain thrill, certain vibration. Nervousness is one of the toys in the box that you pull out and play with and shake with because you don't know that you don't have to do that. I told you one time, as long as you have a next, you're lost. You must have no next. Next is time. Next is thinking. Next is scheming. Next is planning. And what's it scheming to do? To keep you as you are by the false self telling you, I am all there is, bow down and worship me. The world does, human beings do, see where you do, and you'll see exactly why you protect your feelings, why they're so precious to you, why you want to be offended. Did you ever think of that? Don't you know that one of your you don't know it, I'll tell you, you don't know. One of your strongest cravings is to be offended. One of your greatest greeds is to have troubles. You yearn for emotional conflict. It's all you have. You've bowed down and worshiped the golden calf of your own neurotic reactions. Here, right here in this room, you will see the mistake you're making. What else do you think we're here for? But to see the mistake which we have called rightness, called tradition, called necessary habit, called the only thing that exists. Now, I have told you that you have made a mistake in protecting your darling, precious feelings because you won't explore by remaining blank, by leaving a vacant space when a challenge comes up to you. All right, now you've got to do it. You've got to do what you've never done before. What you have to do is when someone gives you that scowl, when the world in some way or another does what you call offensive, you are to catch the devil behind the 12th tree before he rushes in to tell you, dictate to you what you should do and feel. Now, with your deliberate, voluntary refusal to accept the customary, habitual, wrong reaction, what happens next? That's it! Nothing happens. nothing happens to you, because for that split second, you're in eternity. You're not in time. Doesn't time belong to the past when you were a little boy or little girl and you started picking up this collection of junky reactions? Isn't that time? So by abolishing time, by refusing the reaction, by conscious knowledge of the damage of it, by refusing the customary reaction of feeling offended, of feeling hurt, nothing happens. Now, when nothing happens, that means, thank God for this, when nothing happens, that means both the most scary and most beautiful thing you'll ever know. When nothing happens, that means the absence of the reactor. Right? The absence of you. To the world, to sick society, this is the worst thing that can happen, to have an absence of the imaginary nature. To us here in this class, it is, there's no words to describe how great it is to see that you don't have to be there anymore as the person who was the receiver of his own destruction. That you can be out of the way. That there is something else besides you. There is something that you now, because you don't understand it fully, you call it a dreadful darkness, a vacancy, because if you were not there, you don't know who else is supposed to be there. Which is why you'll fight for years to have this absence of you. But when you fully, consistently, all the time, working on it, refuse to fill the space with feeling offended, with being hurt, with anger, when you refuse to fill the space long enough, something will dawn on you that has never dawned before. And you'll, for months and years, there'll be a little, I wonder what's happening going on in your mind, referring to what is happening internally inside of you. And what is happening is your beginning glimpse, insight into the fact that there is something besides you. You don't have any clue of that. Now, I tell you, even though you hear me explaining it, you don't have that. Because you're going to go out of there getting your feelings hurt again. Aren't you? At the smallest thing. You're going to get terrified, scared, set off again by the word. Therefore, you don't understand what I'm saying, which I'm explaining to you so that you won't go into deceptive imagination and think that you do. The dawning will come to you that what is happening to you is pure good, true spirituality. You are beginning truly to be born again. And what you understand, 1,000 understandings enter at once, but one of them is the mistake that you made on the mental level of always saying I. For example, but what will happen to me, to I, what will happen to me if I deliberately allow God to dissolve the invented me? See, isn't that a curious false question? What will happen to me if I let God dissolve me? What will happen is that you will see that the me you're talking about is non-existent, never existed, has no validity at all. Therefore, you see through the falseness of your very anxious questioning about what will happen to me. There's no me for anything bad or good to happen to. The only thing is for you to see the illusion of your talking about me with all your experiences. There's no me, there's no self, there's no independent entity there at all. When you see that, the heavens light up with a new knowledge within you of what goodness is. of what freedom is, of what happiness is, and of what eternity is. What you've understood finally is that there is a non-self existence that it is possible for you to achieve here in this physical existence. And this non-self existence is described in true spiritual literature, and you've read about it. Maybe you can connect it now as I'm talking to you. You understand that this non-self, this non-me, is a part of the timeless eternity, a part of the all, and a part of the very power to live this life sanely, correctly, without difficulties, without being strained, without having complaints, without having chaos. You understand, as the man did, as the searcher did, the fundamental mistake you made of thinking that you have to find an answer. What you have to see is that there is no self who finds an answer, because if the self finds it, there is a wrong answer, and then you get married 10 times, then you have 20 boyfriends, then you have $1 million and waste your life in making $2 million, then your whole life is thrown away. And you understand that you have done it up until now, and at first that causes pain, but that's the devil still working. See, when you're truly born again, when you have finally broken through the delusion of wrong thoughts and feelings, you understand that even the thought and the pain, I've wasted my life for 48 years, even that is a part of time thinking, isn't it? Do you see? Oh, I tell you, I want you to see that victory, true spiritual victory, is complete. 100%. You see, right now in your partial thinking, your wrong thinking, you say, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could just get rid of this one problem out of 100 I have? Or if you're a little bolder, you say, maybe if I could just get rid of 2 problems, that anxiety over loss of some kind, if I could just get rid of 3%. It's 100% or nothing. Right? You know why. When the sun comes up, it banishes all problems of shadows and darkness, doesn't it? How ridiculous to hope that the sun will banish one dark little corner of the world you can't see and understand. It doesn't work that way. It's ridiculous to even think that way. When the sun comes up, everything. Now, the way to understand this, I'll tell you how to understand what I just said. No longer be you.